You can be asleep for 8 full hours and still not actually rest. I know that's so annoying. You were unconscious the whole night. How is that not resting? But the gap right there is the reason you can do everything right, like sleep the full 8, and still lose the fight to keep your eyes open on the couch at 3 p.m. while your kids climb all over you. I've been there and I told myself the same thing over and over. I just need more sleep. But more sleep isn't actually the fix, because the problem isn't how many hours you're in bed, it's that your brain never actually clocks out. It stays half awake all night. So stay with me, because once it clicked for me, I stopped waking up already dreading the day. I'm a mom of 3. I live off grid in northern Canada. I homeschool, I cook everything from scratch, and my husband works away for weeks at a time. So most nights, bedtime's on me, mornings are on me, and there's nobody to switch out with. And I've got steady energy all day. And it's not because I sleep more than you. I probably actually sleep less. It's because I stopped chasing the number and fixed the thing that was keeping my brain switched on all night long. So in this video, I'll show you the real reasons your brain keeps you exhausted even after a full night, the screen habit that fools your brain into thinking it's the middle of the day, the thing happening at 3 p.m. that you probably don't even remember, and why your body just won't power down at night. Plus a one-time switch at the very end. It's not a habit, just one change you can make once, and that fixed my mornings. So stick around for that. Before we get into it, here's why this matters right now. Almost all of us have been handed the same fix for being tired, right? Just get more sleep. So we go to bed earlier, we stress about hitting our 8 hours, and we still wake up feeling like we got hit by a truck. We're pouring effort into the wrong problem. It was never about the quantity, it's whether your brain gets the signal that it's safe to actually rest. I'm Erica, by the way, and on this channel I help exhausted moms get their energy back with really small, doable changes that are meant to fit in with real life. And I've got a free workshop where I walk you through this whole thing, step by step. I'll point you to it in a bit. It's linked below if you want a head start. Okay, let me start with the mistake I made for years, because I've got a feeling you're making it too. The harder you chase the perfect 8 hours, the more exhausted you might be making yourself, and not for the reason you think. When my husband and I first got married, I was working 10-hour days, which was a lot for me. I had this rule in my head: bed by 9, up at 5. 8 hours, no exceptions. And if I ever crawled into bed at 9:15 instead of 9, I'd feel this little spike of panic, like, great, I've blown it. I'm gonna be a zombie tomorrow. And surprise, I was a zombie the next day, every time. But here's the part that actually cracked it open for me. On the nights I did hit my 9 o'clock target, right on the dot, I was still exhausted the next day. Same tired. And I did all that stressing and it changed nothing. My husband, bless him, finally said, Erica, 8 hours is good. But the more you panic about getting exactly 8 hours, the more tired you're going to be. And he was completely right. Here's the thing. Lying in bed stressing about whether you're getting enough sleep is its own kind of exhausting. That worry keeps your brain switched on, the exact opposite of what you're trying to do. I was so focused on the number that I never once asked whether those hours were actually restful. And they weren't. I was getting the quantity I thought I needed and completely missing the quality. So I let off the gas. I stopped white knuckling the clock. And honestly, that one shift, just caring less about the number, did more for my energy than going to bed an hour earlier ever did before. It's such a small change, it might be hard to do, but it costs nothing and you literally do less and it works better. But letting go of the number was only step one, because there was still something sabotaging the quality of those hours, and it was sitting on my nightstand. Your brain decides whether it's daytime or nighttime based on one main signal, and screens, you probably know this, hijack that signal completely. So here's how your brain actually keeps time. It's got an internal clock, And the biggest thing that sets that clock is light. Bright light hits your eyes and your brain goes, great, it's daytime. Let's be alert. Then a bunch of hours after the light goes away, it starts releasing the stuff that makes you sleepy and tells your body to wind down. The problem is the blue light coming off your phone screen looks exactly like midday sun to your brain. So when you're scrolling in bed at 10 o'clock, your brain isn't getting the memo that it's night. It thinks it's lunchtime. It holds off on the wind down signal, and then you wonder why you're wired and can't fall asleep. Now, I'll be honest with you, because I always am, I don't do this one perfectly right now. I'm in a season where I'm trying to build my business, and I use those quiet evening hours to work on a screen. So I'm not going to stand here and pretend I've got some flawless candlelit wind down routine at the moment. But here's what I am careful about. I do something. I wear blue light blocking glasses for at least an hour before bed. Do I have them here? Yes. So attractive. Okay. But anyway, because of these, my brain isn't getting that it's noon signal even though the screen's on. And the other half of it is I don't scroll, because scrolling doesn't just hit you with light. It revs your brain up. Like, all that noise and swiping in other people's lives just ruins it right when you're supposed to be powering down. So my working is focused and scrolling is like a slot machine, right? I keep the light blocked and I keep the slot machine out of my evening. And the morning side is just as big. For a long time, my phone was the very first thing I looked at when I woke up. And doing that floods your brain with that daytime signal, but at the wrong intensity. And it also, dumps everyone's demands on you even before you get up. So now I step outside for a minute first. I get real daylight in my eyes before the screen. And of course, living out in the forest, that usually means I catch the sun coming up through the trees, which honestly definitely beats reading emails. Now, you don't have to give up screens to fix this. I obviously didn't. You just have to stop letting them lie to your brain about what time it is. Block the light at night. Keep the scroll out of your bed. Get real light in your eyes before you look at your phone in the morning. That's pretty small stuff, but it is the difference that will decide how you actually feel after your 8 hours you're spending in bed. Okay, so that's the signal going in, but there's something else that can pull you out of deep sleep in the middle of the night. And most moms never connect it to what happened earlier in the day. You might be waking up at 3 a.m. and you don't remember it. And your dinner could actually be the reason. So here's one that flies completely under the radar because it happens while you're asleep. When you eat a big pile of carbs right before bed, the pasta, the toast, the bowl of cereal you sneak after the kids are down, right? No judgment. I have done it too. Your blood sugar shoots up and then a few hours later it crashes. And when it crashes overnight while you're sleeping, your body treats it like a little emergency. It releases stress hormones to pull your blood sugar back up. And those stress hormones, they drag you out of your deepest, most restorative sleep. So sometimes you fully wake up at 3 a.m. and you stare at the ceiling like, why am I awake? But a lot of the time you don't even remember it. You just surface kind of out of the deep stuff and into more shallow sleep. And then you wonder in the morning why 8 hours felt like 4. I'll be straight with you. I don't have some dramatic personal story about this one, but I have messed around with blood sugar enough on myself, glucose monitor and all, to know how real and how sneaky those overnight swings are. The fix is almost annoyingly simple. You don't have to overhaul your dinner. You just don't want a pile of naked carbs to be the last thing you eat before bed. A little protein or fat alongside it keeps that blood sugar from doing the giant spike and crash thing while you're trying to recover. It's one small tweak you can make and your brain gets to stay down in the deep sleep where the actual repair and rest happens. So even with the light handled and your blood sugar steady, there's one more reason your brain won't power down. And this is the one I think hits moms the hardest. If your whole day is spent in go mode, your brain doesn't magically flip off the second you lay down. Think about what a mom's day actually looks like. You're on from the second your eyes open. Somebody needs something every 4 minutes. And when your husband's away, which for me is a lot, there is no handoff at the end of the day. No one walks in and takes the baton. I just stay on. So if you do that, your nervous system spends the entire day braced. And then you lie down and expect it to instantly switch off, but it has no idea it's allowed to yet. So like nobody's sent the all clear, you can rest. I had a student, her name's Krista, who put words to this better than I ever could. She's someone who, in her own words, is naturally anxious and tends to want to change everything at once. And when she started getting her phone out of her room and stacking these tiny habits, she said she started falling asleep faster and feeling less anxious. She actually called it the downshift, and that's it exactly. Your body needs a downshift, a signal that the day is over and it's safe to stop racing. For me right now, that is stupidly small. At the end of the day, I take 1 or 2 minutes, that's it, to take a few slow, intentional breaths and just look out the window as the sun goes down. Right now, there are bats here that come around and swoop around at dusk, and I watch them. And that's what I do. A minute just to tell my body the day is done now. And it tells my brain what 8 hours in bed never could. You can let go. Because here's what I've come to believe after years of this. You can't force your brain to shut off, but you can tell it it's safe to. And it doesn't take an hour of meditation or a whole evening routine that you'll never actually keep up. It takes about 90 seconds of deliberately doing something. The smallest possible signal done every night until your body starts to trust it. Now, this isn't just about sleep for sleep's own sake. I want a great sleep so I have the energy to cook healthy food for my family and have genuine fun running around with my kids, and also the patience to parent them the way I want to without snapping at every little thing because I'm so exhausted. Now, I promised you a one-time switch at the start. It's not a habit, just one thing you buy once and never think about again. So here it is. The single easiest way to protect almost everything I just talked about is to get your phone out of your bedroom entirely. And the thing that finally made that stick for me was swapping my phone alarm for a real one. So I use an analog alarm. Oh my gosh. I use an analog sunrise alarm clock that slowly lights up the room before it gently wakes me with its peaceful bird chirping sounds. No phone required, no jarring blare. And once that was handled, there was zero reason for my phone to be in the room. And when it's not in the room, you can't scroll at night and you can't grab it first thing in the morning. Two of the biggest sabotages are just automatically gone because of one purchase you make. That's the kind of thing I love. You don't have to be disciplined about it every single day. You just set it up once and it works for you forever. So I'll link the one that I use down below. So if every night you're lying there stressing that you're not getting enough sleep, I want you to hear this. It was probably never about the number. It's about whether your brain ever actually got the message that it was nighttime. The light, the 3 a.m. crash, the go mode that never switched off. And every single fix here is small. They're almost too small to believe it matters. You know, blocking a little light, a minute outside, 90 seconds of breathing at a window. It sounds ridiculous, but that's exactly the point. This stuff works because it's small enough to actually keep doing it. I'm living proof that a handful of embarrassingly tiny changes done night after night will do what chasing the perfect 8 hours never will. If you want the full step-by-step of how I stacked these small wins to climb out of exhaustion, that's exactly what I walk you through in my free workshop. So you can find that linked down below. And here's the thing. Once you've actually got your energy back, once you're not running on empty by mid-afternoon, the real question becomes what you do with it. Your world will open up. If you want to see how I plan my entire week backwards so I end the week fully satisfied with what I got done and how it went, watch this video next.